reason, and we'll be sharing this over the next couple of days. So do look out for that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So I am Lindsay Carlson from Willistown Conservation Trust, and just give you a little bit of background about the trust if you're not familiar. We are a land trust located in Southeast Pennsylvania, about 17 miles outside of Philadelphia in Newtown Square. And we have been a part of preserving and protecting into perpetuity about 7,500 acres of open space and wildlife habitat in our program area, which is really defined by three watersheds: the Crum and the Ridley and the Darby Creeks all start and run through our program area. And so while saving open land and preserving it is the cornerstone of our work, we do have other program areas under the conservation umbrella that all really work hand in hand. So we do have a bird conservation program, which is located right next to Rushton Farm and Rushton Woods Preserve. And we also have a watershed protection program that studies the stream health in all of those creeks that I just mentioned. And our stewardship department also manages all of the conservation easements on private property, as well as our 3 public preserves. And so if you are ever in the sort of Newtown Square area, please do stop out to Kirkwood, Ashbridge, and Rushton Woods Preserve, which is home, like I said, to Rushton Farm, which we will definitely talk about a lot more as the evening progresses. So if you'd like to learn more about the trust, how to visit our in-person programs coming up this spring and summer, please visit our website at wctrust.org for more information and volunteer opportunities as well. So we hope to see you in real life soon. So I'm going to just quickly here share my screen so that we can get going on what we're really here to talk about and celebrate. So women in agriculture. So I'm going to actually sort of pass the mic off to the amazing farmers that we have here to go ahead and introduce themselves to all of you. And so I'm going to pass off to Emma DeLong from Knee High Farm to start us off this evening. Welcome, Emma.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good to see some friendly faces. I'm Emma DeLong. I own Knee High Farm, which we rent 7 acres outside of Pottstown and North Chester County, growing on about 4 acres of diversified vegetables. We have 120-person CSA. My husband, Aaron, and I started a local market last year, Red Dog Market, where we sell our produce, among others, in this room, these women's products. And we go to the Swarthmore Farmers Market and sell to chefs and restaurants in the area. So really excited to be here, talk about some really cool ladies in agriculture and celebrate them.
Hi, my name is Erica Lavdansky, and I own B&H Organic Produce. We're in Morgantown. We are a certified organic farm. We farm about 3 acres of produce on a 150-acre certified organic farm. In Morgantown, that's Lancaster County. We do 2 farmers markets, West Reading Farmers Market and Malvern Farmers Market. We also have a small CSA. We do organic plant sales in the spring, and we do sell to restaurants as well. And we love sharing our food with the local community. We've been in business since 2008, so it's about 14 years. And yeah, it's really a fun adventure. And I'm happy to be here to share my experience with all of you. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Jess Matthews. I am a first generation dairy farmer. I started out in social work and about 5 years ago switched to dairy farming full time. I work at Seven Stars Farm. We're in Kimberton, PA. It's northern Chester County too. And we have a processing plant on site that we turn almost all of our milk into yogurt. We also pull off some for fluid milk and heavy cream. And we are a grazing biodynamic farm with jerseys.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Engstad, and I started Valley Milk House in 2014. We make cheese, so we're a cheese farm, but we're unique in Pennsylvania in that we're not farmstead. We partner with a dairy farm nearby in Kutztown, which is a grazing operation, certified organic, and they sell into Natural by Nature for fluid milk. So we just divert a small, it ends up being about 15% of their milk for our cheese making operation, something like 15 Jersey cows worth of milk that we're producing. So it's about 20,000 pounds of cheese per year. And we sell like 95% of the cheese we produce, we're selling within Pennsylvania, within even, I would say, southeastern Pennsylvania, about 50% wholesale. And then the other 50% is, we do a few farmers markets. We have a CSA in partnership with Birch Run Hills Farm called Collective Creamery. And we supply other farm CSAs as well as like an add-on product. So that's a little bit about our operation. We make European style cheeses, lots of different varieties. And we're also women run team. There's 3 women in our operation making cheese.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nina Berryman. I'm the farm manager for Weaver's Way Farms. Weaver's Way is a cooperatively owned grocery store that focuses on local as much as possible. And Weaver's Way has 2 urban farms and also an urban orchard. We grow for all sorts of different outlets. We grow for a 260 shareholder CSA. And shares are still available for anyone in the Philadelphia area that's interested. We also have an on-site farm market with other local product besides what we grow. And of course, a lot of the produce that we grow goes straight into our own grocery stores. We have 3 grocery stores in the Northwest Philadelphia area. And some of the produce that we grow also makes its way into the cafeteria of Saul Agricultural High School. Of our 2 farms, one of them is located at this high school, and we have a lot of students involved in all aspects of the farm, and they get to eat some of the produce during lunch. And I'll mention that our second farm is located at the Aubrey Arboretum. So it's a public green space in Northwest Philly, and there's a lot of agricultural activity that goes on there. It's not just us, there's lots of other ag partners involved.
And then that's me. This is Molly Clark. I'm one of the managers at Russian Farm, which, as Lindsay said, is a part of the Willistown Conservation Trust. So we're a over 3 acre farm located within an 86 acre nature preserve. So that kind of was the genesis of the farm, was to say we have the Willistown Conservation Trust had this land preserved, or what if we use this preserved land in a way that could demonstrate that you can use it productively and still protect and maintain the habitat and the surrounding ecosystem. So Fred can definitely tell more about the origin of the farm and how we have used it as a site to start a bird conservation and bird research program. But in terms of the farm itself, we're 110 family CSA. We've been, the farm started, I think, in 2007. So members come right to the farm to pick up, and we also do a lot of educational programming. We've had the opportunity to work with, in the last few years, several interns who've gone on to ag college programs, which has been really exciting. So yeah, Fred, I don't know if you want to say any more while we're talking about Rushton.
No, just that I think we're seeing a transition within agriculture along all lines, whether it's the people who get involved in agriculture, whether it's diversity, whether it's the land. The biggest thing that we talk about is the need to be preserving agricultural space. And obviously we're losing it in this region. And I think everybody on this panel has done their part in helping, whether it's urban, whether it's rural, wherever it may be, is doing a really strong job in forming that front that we need to recognize, especially now that it's more important than ever to save our land and keep it for agriculture. And it's something that I got into in 2007. And since then, we've had some incredible people, Molly being foremost, who have come in and decided they wanted to dedicate themselves to agriculture, and that being able to work on lands within an area that is quickly getting developed is extremely important. That's it.
Fred, if I could just, I think we didn't introduce you. So if you could introduce who you are, we'll back up a little bit.
Sorry, I'm director of the community farm program. Myself and my brother, Aaron DeLong, helped establish Ruston Farm in 2007. The first and foremost is looking at the conservation of conserved land, which we work with multiple land trusts to do. Bird program was established by my wife, Lisa Kijak, in 2009. Yes. That really established this kind of science-based effect of looking at how agriculture can work in concert with the surrounding ecosystem. And outside of Molly, our other farm manager, Noah Gress, who works with pollinators, specifically bees, we've really done a lot. And we have a watershed program, we've got a stewardship program, and I'm very proud that it's interesting that I have, I guess, 30 years in farming now, and being able to work with all these different programs, I think fully shows how we can be environmentally conscious and still grow a lot of food for a lot of people. Right?
All right. Thank you all so much for introducing. I'm going to stop my screen share here so that we can move back to having a group conversation. So Molly, if you want to take it away to get the conversation started.
Sure. So we're just going to start out with some questions kind of that we're going to ask of each other, and then we're saving time at the end for questions from all of you guys, because I would love to know what brought you here and why you're interested in this program. But to start, it's just a question about how you all got interested and decided to come down this path in ag. So how you became interested in growing and producing, and where did you learn? I think those are pretty tied together. So Nina, you're first on my screen if you want to start.
Sure. I really got into farming from like an environmentalist perspective. I studied environmental studies in school and was really just looking to develop my own skills and self-sufficiency. And so I enrolled in a program in British Columbia, actually, called the Linnea Ecological Gardening Program, and lived and studied on that farm for about 8 months. And I thought it was just going to be sort of my own like skill development for a hobby maybe, but I just really fell in love with it and realized it was something that I could make a career out of. And I also have just a strong interest in community.
Sorry about that. We had a little.
I know, don't worry. Background noise, my bad. Yeah, so I have a strong interest in community development as well and education. So that really brought me to an urban setting where I could combine my environmentalist passion with sharing it with others, really.
Erica.
So I started farming just out of high school. I was working on an organic farm at the farm I am now. They have a little health food store, and I was really interested in natural medicine. So I started learning that and then wanting to do gardening. And then from there, I moved around the country working internships, which if anyone's interested in farming, that's the way to do it. You know, we learn from farmers, and as many different farmers as possible is the best thing. And then I worked for some other farms, and then the farm I was working for in 2007 closed, and my the owner of the farm where I am now, he approached me to start my own business, which I didn't want to do, but in 2008, there wasn't any other farms around to work at. So I started my own business and it's been awesome. I love the physicality of the work. I love sharing my creativity with people, and I love eating really well. And those are like the best parts of what I do for sure. So it's been a really great experience, and I never thought this is what I'd do with my life, but I wouldn't want to do anything else. So yeah.
It's funny. I mean, I'm interested to keep hearing everyone's, 'cause I think that's probably, in my case, a very shared experience. Like I'd never, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know it was going to be this. I'm so excited that I did find this.
Yeah.
So, Jessica.
So I grew up in Delaware County, totally like suburb of Philly. Went to school for maybe had a veggie garden. And then once I was out of school and got a job with my degree in my field, it was the first time I became aware of like food access issues, or just really like that there is starvation level hunger in the state and in the city. And it sort of started this whole thing where like it didn't, treating mental health issues is like, if somebody's hungry, like there's gotta tackle the hungry part first. And I got really interested in the food system, like from a consumer side of it. Like, okay, what can I do to contribute more to food access and sovereignty, and like sort of from an activist perspective. And then that just spiraled out of control into me getting involved with the CSA, working on a veggie farm. I used to take my vacation time from my social work job to work for weeks on a veggie farm near me. And then I moved to Central PA, which had a lot more agricultural opportunities, and did like a homesteading type thing of chickens and bees and ducks. And chickens like are the gateway drug to livestock. And I got involved with PASA and the dairy grazing apprenticeship, and that is a national program that PASA, PA Sustainable Agriculture, administers in PA, and it's designed for first-time farmers. So I just sort of walked on to the first farm, and it ended up being the best farm. I got super lucky. I felt like I was supposed to be there, and it was like one of the first times in probably 11 years of like working as a grown-up that I ever like wanted to be at work. I felt like I was doing something important, and so I sort of chased this food path back to actually being a producer, and transitioned out of psych over the last 5 years, and now I work on a dairy farm full time. And yeah, I had no idea that that's what was going to happen with my life, and I could not imagine doing anything else with it. I love it. It's the most rewarding and thing I've ever done.
Thank you. That's an incredible story. That's awesome. Why don't we do Stephanie? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Yes, I am. Thanks. I always say I fell in love with cheese at a young age. I grew up with a Belgian mother, and she just like instilled that love of stinky European style cheeses. And so I don't know. I mean, I studied public policy in college, and I was really interested in food policy and food politics. And so I guess I kind of found farming through that lens. And worked on some veggie farms, and also worked as a cheesemaker apprentice out at a goat dairy in Colorado, and shadowed some other cheesemakers as well. So I bounced around veggies and the dairy side. And I resettled back in Berks County to work for Eckerton Hill Farm, which is a veggie CSA, and was, like buying in some add-on like fruits and cheeses and things for the CSA. And I just realized at the time that we didn't have like a very good cheese culture within Berks. And it happened to be, you know, part of my background and certainly a big passion of mine. And so I just kind of took this big risk. I decided to start a creamery of my own. There are so many wonderful farms around, and I've never had an interest in being a dairy farmer, and I have so much respect for you, Jessica, and all the people who are. But I thought that I could play another sort of important link, play a role in connecting the food system. And I think the more I got into cheese making, the more I started learning that cheese is just one of these like silver bullet, just perfect solutions to a lot of land problems, because it has a way of adding value to land in like a very efficient way of processing, and it also has this beautiful way of connecting urban and rural communities, which, you know, you all are doing through veggie growing as well. Just like, I think especially with something like cheese, you know, it can really like tell the story of a piece of land. It might end up in some fancy cheese shop in a city, but people do have an opportunity to trace that back to a piece of land and the cows. And I feel like what we're doing in partnership with Carisbrook Farm is, you know, we're able to sort of like pay a premium to them for their milk to keep producing really high quality milk. They're a rotational grazing operation similar to Seven Stars. It's, you know, I think that's so important because there are a lot of cheeses out there. There aren't that many that come from like intensive grazing operations. There aren't that many that are certified organic like ours are. And so, yeah, I think from like a policy perspective, we're filling an important piece of the puzzle as processors.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to have you because I think you're exactly right that you know, it's all, everyone's an important piece of the puzzle, but that certainly is. And Emma.
So I grew up in Santa Cruz, California, where there's lots of agriculture and lots of open space. And I kind of approached agriculture just through a love of nature. Right after high school, I just couldn't imagine going through another 4 years of school. So I participated in the program WOOF, which is Wheeling Workers on Organic Farms. And basically you travel around and stay with host farms in exchange for your labor. They house you and feed you. So I went up to Canada and worked on farms in the Pacific Northwest and just really fell in love with the homesteading aspect of it, and kind of approached production scale farming through this like survivalist apocalyptic viewpoint of like, I need to know how to grow my food. Shit hits the fan. So that's when I decided, like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was like, well, I know I want to work outside with my hands. I don't want to go to college. I'll just continue like volunteering my time and try to find a job at a farm. So I found a job in Santa Cruz at an 8 acre organic veggie farm, and spent a season there. And after that, I was totally sold and I knew I wanted to start my own farm. So I applied for different programs. There's one in the Lehigh Valley called the Seed Farm, where they call themselves like an agricultural incubator program. And they basically lease you land and access to equipment and greenhouse space for you to spend a year learning how to farm and taking business classes through Penn State Extension. And I developed my farm business plan. And then when I was 22, I started Knee High Farm on site. So this is the 9th year now that I've been farming, and I share the same sentiment as so many growers here of, I can't imagine ever doing anything else. I feel very spoiled. I feel like I get to do what I love every single day. And I just, same as Erica, I feel like the best way is for people excited about getting involved in agriculture is just do it. Like there's only so much you can learn through a book, and working on different operations and finding where your passion is. I think a lot of people and women, if we can follow that intuition and not be told like, well, you can only do this part, you can only do this part, and just taste a bunch of different aspects of it, you're going to find something you really love to do that's meaningful to you. So I don't think that just applies to farming. I think it applies to anything you pursue in your life. So yeah, I love farming and I'm really excited. I'm going to have a baby in early July. So I'm really excited to introduce my children to a lifestyle as well that's, you know, involved with food and tending the land. So that's who I am.
So just to keep going with some more questions here, and I think, again, I think Emma and Erica, you probably can answer this one, and then if anyone else wants to chime in or has something important to say, please do. I was just going to ask about how, like as Fred said, with kind of more and more you hear about how land access is obviously an obstacle, and preserving farmland is just of utmost importance. So how did you guys find the land that you are on, and how did you get to where your farms are located? Either of you, go ahead.
I'll go first. So I don't live at the farm. I lease the land on the farm. I live about 16 miles away in town. I would love to own my own farm, but it's pretty much cost prohibitive. You know, we're always looking, but you never know. So I have a unique experience in that I have a relationship with the farmer. We've been friends, well, for about 25 years now. And then we were friends before, and he has the farm, and he invited me to come to the farm, and we started a business growing produce. He's now much older, and so I did set up a lease when he left the business because he was getting older and couldn't work with it. So I do have a 30-year lease, you know, all the legal aspects of it, so that when the farm transitions, I will be protected to be able to stay there. Again, my situation was really unique because I had a relationship with the farmer, and he was a mentor, still is, and taught me so much. That was really special. But even though I had a really close relationship, I wanted to make sure I was legally protected to stay. And, you know, that was an interesting process, making sure, you know, you're not just leasing the land, you're leasing the spaces, you're leasing the right of ways, you're leasing the water access, you know, the electricity, all of that. So that took a while to like work through all that process, but it's a pretty good situation. So yeah.
And for me, after I completed the program at the seed farm, I was looking for land to rent at that time and expand my operation. Because at first I just rented 1.5 acres. And every year my cost of being there increased. They were kind of like pushing me out of the nest a little bit. So I heard through friends about this organization, Lundale Farm, which is a nonprofit. And they're in Chester County. They own about 600 acres of preserved farmland. And their model is that they rent to organic and regenerative farmers of all different types. You know, we have an orchardist, I'm the veggie farmer, we have pastured pork, there was a microgreen grower. So all these different operations tend the land and improve it basically as an alternative to like crop growers or a landowner renting out to soy and corn rotation. So I snagged the opportunity, and I rent the 7 acres as well as my home here for a subsidized cost. And that's partially because the land I rent is really poor quality. It's basically in a wetland. So we get flooded every year. We're right by French Creek, and but we've done a lot to improve the soil. So it's actually it's been an amazing opportunity to see like, okay, how can I, as a land steward, come to this location and increase its value, you know, and increase the health of the soil and the waterways and the plant and animal biodiversity. So it's been challenging, but it's been really fun. And not unlike Erica, I don't have a lot of security here. I just signed a 3-year lease that renews every 3 years. So it is something that is on my mind, but the land is preserved. So I know it's not going to be bought by like a developer or anyone. And I have a good relationship with the organization. So I'm kind of like, maybe I should do that 30-year lease. But at the same time, I'm not entirely sure I want to be here forever. So that's how we operate.
Cool, thank you. I think both those examples make it just evident how important those partnerships are, whether it's with an organization or whether it's nurturing relationships between the retiring farmers and people who can take over their land in a way that they are excited and appreciate and respect, and works out for the next people coming on. So I was going to ask about for Stephanie and Jessica about like any programs or grants or organizations that helped you guys on the farms that you're on, or getting to the experiences and the businesses you have now. So yeah, Stephanie, if you have anything to.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, dairy processing it's so different from like being more of a production, veg grower. I think the value is not so much in the land as in the equipment. Like we just have a space filled with stainless steel, and it's all very expensive and customized. And so it can be a huge hurdle in getting started. And one of the things that got me going initially when I first started was just a relationship with the Farm Service Agency. They were sort of like, well, you're not a farm, but you're like a farm processor, so we're gonna like squeeze you through the cracks kind of a thing, and ended up giving me the opportunity to get a really low interest equipment loan to buy the initial equipment. And that was really helpful. And it kind of just gave me a starting point, just like overcoming that initial hurdle of getting started. And then, every year for the first 5 years, I was just sort of breaking even and scraping by. But, the cheese was popular, and we were selling enough to stay in business. And then, of course, anything that we made, we invested back in. And I think our big break came in 2019 when the state of Pennsylvania put out a grant opportunity for dairy processors. And I think Jessica can speak about this as well, but it was really huge. And it was just a time when a lot of the Pennsylvania dairy farms were struggling, still are, milk prices being at historical lows still. But the state was looking to invest in processors because cheese and butter were doing really well, where fluid milk was not. And so they were looking for partnership exactly like the one that we have with our farm partner, and tried to strengthen that. So we got a $42,000 grant to buy some pretty major equipment. So we transitioned from having just 100-gallon vat production capacity to basically tripling that and being able to process 300 gallons of milk a day. And we were able to invest in, new aging space and something as simple as just a milk transport tank. So instead of like the backbreaking work of hauling milk by hand in 8-gallon cans, now I had a pump and a trailer, and that was a huge game changer. So basically that amount of money just lifted us into a whole new ballpark that helped us be profitable. And it doesn't, probably to a lot of people, doesn't seem like a whole lot of money, but it was pretty huge. I mean, it would have taken us like 10 years to make those investments over time. And instead we were able to make them in 2. So I think just like having your feelers out and knowing where you can get, grants are amazing. And luckily, like the state is so ready to invest in small scale agriculture right now and processors, and makes the grant process, I think, pretty easy. I spent some time on it, but they were definitely trying to make this money accessible to people. So there are a lot of resources out there if you know where to look. And that's pretty crucial, I would say, to getting things started and getting things moving.
Yeah, so I actually also received the same, I forget the Pennsylvania Dairy Improvement
Yeah, Pennsylvania Dairy Investment Program.
Program, PDI. Yeah, back in 2019 or 2018 at the farm that I was working on in Central PA. And the reason I applied for it was became clear financially that that farm was not going to be able to afford to pay me a living wage. I worked under the federal poverty line in dairy for 3 years. And I don't know, I kept my costs really low, but it wasn't sustainable. And so I had the idea, or we had the idea, me and the farm owner, to do on-farm processing, because we started to see, once you when a co-op buys milk, they pay it in 100 pounds of milk. They measure milk in pounds. So for years, farmers were getting above $20 for 100 pounds of milk. And when I started farming, it was like $14 for 100 pounds of milk. It was a huge cut, and I don't know what it is right now, to be honest with you. I think it might be lower. Anyway, so I needed a way to pay for myself to stay at this barn and stay doing the stuff I really wanted to do. So we wanted to put in a creamery on the farm and make cheese and some yogurt, just do sort of a direct market, on-farm market. I didn't end up going through with that. We went through the business planning process and sort of had everything ready, and that was right as COVID hit. And I had some changes in my life, and it just wasn't what happened. But we did use those grant funds to start a raw milk program at that farm, which I never would have been able to navigate and find funding for and get equipment for and get training on my own. That was because of those grant funds that were available. And that was PASA was also extremely helpful and supportive with that, and the dairy grazing apprenticeship was also extremely supportive and help. I did nothing by myself. I have done none of this on my own at all. So, and everybody, including Stephanie, everybody that I was like, hey, can I hang out with you and make cheese because I don't know what I'm doing, said yes. Nobody said no to me. They let this like weird girl come to their farm for the day and like bother them with questions. I mean, it was fantastic. It was so collaborative. It made me, again, like feel like I was a part of something, which is like an elusive feeling for me. And
herself.
oh, I can't. And yeah, so that was a really helpful program. PASA, DGA, and the Dairy Improvement Grant. They're why I'm a farmer.
Great, thank you. And then, Nina, I wanted to definitely ask you about your experience working with students. That's something we do a little bit at Rushton, obviously. And I just wanted to give you a chance to elaborate on that and what the value you see in that, and how the students contribute to the working of the farm.
Yeah. Well, if there's one way to make farming even more complicated than it already is, add a bunch of teenagers. It adds a lot of challenge and joy to the farm, having high school students involved. So really, we just try to get them involved in anything and everything, whether it's planting, weeding, harvesting, taste testing, or cooking and writing recipes for the newsletter, or basic like economics of what is a co-op and how much does this kale cost. So we really try to get creative. We're really fortunate, of course, that we are at an agricultural high school, so it lends itself to this great partnership. And students who apply to go to Saul High School know what they're getting into. Well, they probably don't, but they are applying to an agricultural high school, so they know that they're going to be doing hands-on work. They know that they're going to be working with animals and plants and smelly manure and muddy driveways. But it's still, sometimes hard to get someone excited about what might be a really challenging, dirty, smelly task, whatever it might be. But we try to just meet everyone at where they're at. And if someone's not into it, be like, all right, that's cool. You can just kind of watch, or, maybe next time. And then you have these just super amazing, eye-opening moments that it sounds so corny and cheesy, but it's just so true when you like see someone like pull a carrot out of the ground and be like, "Whoa, look at that!" It's maybe their first time seeing this vegetable that they're super familiar with, like come out of the ground. Or seeing them without like fail, there's always like a hot pepper eating contest, and you're like, "You're gonna regret this. Don't do it." And they're like, "Give it to me. I can eat it." And so it just adds a lot of silliness and fun. And the teachers are just amazing. Like they're all passionate about agriculture, and we might be working with a teacher that focuses on agriculture, like the food science class or the horticulture class. But we also work with what they call the academic teachers. So an English class might come out and write poetry about the farm, or we might work with the biology class and like talk about pollination in the orchard. So it's really fun. It's really exhausting. Working with students is way more exhausting than farming. And it's every year is totally different. Like every group of students, every class kind of just brings their own energy and their own curiosity to it. And one thing that one class may have been a great hit. They're like, "Oh, we love the tomato transplanting project," and then the next class they'll be like, "We don't want to do this." So you always just have to keep trying new things, and yeah, it keeps it lively, that's for sure.
Sure. We just happened to have 66 graders out today, and they got to see the different program areas. But it's been the first time we've had that big of a group in several years, and it is just a reminder of how exciting it is to see it through someone else's eyes who doesn't, who hasn't been doing this. And it's just a reminder about how far removed a lot of people have become from the source of their food, which I think kind of rekindling that connection is exciting. And I think, it's challenging, but exciting. So kind of in that vein, I was kind of excited about this question to see, and to give you guys a chance, since we have this program, if you had like one or two kind of like main things that you wish the public and and consumers either knew or understood a little bit more clearly about what you do and about local food, and about kind of sustainability of the food system. So Emma, if you want to take this one first.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot the last couple years, because with COVID, we just saw such a spike in people seeking their local farms and, seeking out food security and wanting to know that they had what they needed, especially with like meat and, the staples, like the shelves were empty of like bread and meat and all these things, but also with vegetables. And like our CSA spiked the last 2 years. We had to like cut it off for the first time, and farmers markets, even though things were closed down, they were really bumping. And I just wish it was such a good example of how strong local farms can be and how much they can support the community and how much the community can support them and draw from them. It is this mutual relationship. And while it was happening, I was like, man, I really hope that people don't forget about this. Because like, for me, it was obviously an incredible benefit. Like I was able to start a new business with my husband and like invest in infrastructure. And, I finally like paid taxes for the first time instead of getting a reimbursement. It was a real eye opener to how much every single dollar counts, because it was just a handful more people who are supporting us, who, wanted to know where their food was coming from. And I feel like if we make that shift where it's like, if you just spend $20 a week on a local provider, like you can make the difference between them. Like for me, I was like, oh, I can imagine having a family and farming full time, so I just feel like I wish the public knew that they matter and that they all, like, whatever they can contribute to the local food system is super, super important. So that's what I would tell people.
Yeah. Stephanie, you want to?
I don't know how to, that's such a good answer, Emma. I don't know how to follow that. I think maybe like the sort of less positive side of production, being in production, is all the loss. Like, I think when people see the prices of organic beet or like, a wedge of handmade cheese, I think like there are a lot of people who think that they don't belong in this category of food. And I just wish people could, like, more people could see what goes into it, especially on the loss side, because, for every, and I know like Emma's experienced this too, like for every pound that we can bring to market, well, maybe there were 3 pounds that were lost to something or other. It happens certainly, in cheese, even though we have a little more control than veggie production. But just, yeah, I wish that more people would kind of know like what goes into it, and like not just the joyous, beautiful parts, but like all the heartbreak, which is so real. And I think we all experience it. And that's sort of part of, that's like baked into the price of this product so that we can earn a living.
Erica, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I could piggyback on both of those things. When people always say like, oh, your job is so hard, it is, but it's not the physical part. It is the loss and the disappointment when you work so hard to like put so much energy towards something, and then whether it's weather, insects, or diseases, it's just gone. So yeah, that's the hard part for everyone. It's the emotional part. It's not, it's not all the physical labor. That's kind of the fun part. And I think that it's really important that we do, like, when we purchase something, it's a vote. We're putting our money where what we believe in and what matters to us. And it makes a really big difference. Like Emma said, even just a little bit of extra money going towards a local producer, it matters, and food should cost something. What we do isn't subsidized, big agriculture is subsidized. What we do, it's like blood, sweat, and tears and love, and it's connection. It's buying more than just a transaction at the grocery store. It's like feeding the community, supporting local farmland, supporting biodiversity, all of those wonderful things. But it's the connection with the farmer and the consumer, and we can share with people like how to eat something or a new vegetable. That's a really rewarding experience. And I wish that people not only knew about how much loss there was, but that like you can eat a weird looking vegetable, or like it's okay if there's a bug. That's better than like the chemicals you're gonna get. It's safe. I am amazed how people are like afraid to eat things that don't look right or have a hole in them. And I think that perception of what is safe to eat and what's not is a little skewed. I wish that was a little more clear as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think kind of piggybacking what everyone has said, it's like one thing that someone said to me at a course I was in once was like, everyone always says the food system is broken, but really it's like it's performing exactly how it's designed to, and that's kind of the problem. But that kind of spin on it, he said, was like, that means we can redesign it. And like these past 2 years, like with the pandemic, like the people recognizing like all these sources of food nearby, and being maybe hopefully a little bit more willing to invest their dollar, and that market signal, I think, really matters. So I think that's what I think what I would like people to know too is like every little market signal, every little, I think it's hard to see that it matters, but it does. And then I think Jessica and Nina, do you have anything to add?
I would like people just to understand how important cows are to the environment, and how important grazing is. Farmland preservation is a beautiful and important and necessary thing. But if the farmers that want to work that land can't afford to make a living from their product, then we lose everything. I don't know what changed with buying fluid milk. I don't like remember that happening. It just sort of wasn't a thing anymore. But how important, and I'm just echoing the absolutely more eloquent things that everybody else said, how important those dollars are to a small farmer. You know, $3 extra a gallon to me is huge. That's a huge deal. That's replacing equipment, or that's buying a new tractor that we desperately need to plant crops better, or whatever. It's a cushion for failures that will occur, like other people have mentioned. It makes a huge difference, and it's not something that, you know, whatever, what some giant farm uh, would care about, or a big farm that happens to get a stamp of organic approval but doesn't really grow and behave in the spirit of organic certification. So that's what I would want people.
I'll just add briefly that I wish that more people in the public just spent a couple hours on a farm. I think it's a lot easier to make that smart purchase and spend your dollars where it counts, like everyone's been talking about. If you have just a little bit of firsthand experience, you know, not all farms accept volunteers, but if you can find one that does, I think that appreciation skyrockets after you've been like weeding carrots for 2 hours in like July.
Absolutely. I think, and for, as a tidbit, we do like main season, May, starting in May, we do volunteer hours on Wednesdays. It's just show up Wednesday. So if anyone wants that experience of weeding carrots, please, please just come on over. We'll be happy to have you. I know we're running a little tight on time here, and I just have one more question. I'm guessing maybe it's a question that would get asked anyway. And it was just, you know, from your perspectives as amazing producers and growers, and what strengths, as this is a women in ag event, so what strengths do you think women specifically bring to the farming community? Yeah, so anyone who wants to jump in, go for it.
I think as a, well, I don't want to exclude men, but as myself and as a woman, it's the way I can express my nurturing and my creative energy. You know, I can create spaces, I can create produce, I can create plans, I can share my information, and I can produce healthy food for people. So it's a way for me to give to my community and share my love with my community and the people who support me. So it's that nurturing creative energy. Yeah.
I think there's so much going on at a farm at one time, you know, like there's always more to do. And a lot of what I've learned about farming is setting boundaries of just like, I'm never going to finish it. So this is what I can do now. But I think women and men, but the women I've worked with since I own my farm I only work with women. I've never farmed with men on farms, you know, my farm. I've farmed with men and other farms I've worked on, but an incredible capacity to have multiple things, like a dynamic whirlwind of what should be happening at one time, and an ability to multitask. And I love seeing the gears. You can like almost literally see them working in people's minds, like, okay, well, if I do this now, I should stop at this point so I can tackle this, and then we have to be ready at this point. And I just feel with the women I know in my life, that comes a little easier. I know there's some men where it really comes easy too, but it's a joy to work alongside women where we're all just like flowing in this one, like, how do we make this machine chug along? Yeah, I think women are great at that.
I think we're also really great collaborators. Like I partner up with, I call them my sister creamery, but Bertrand Hills Farm in Chester County. My good friend Sue, who has Holsteins there. She, you know, it's hard. Cheese is all about discovery. So, you know, I make 6 styles and she makes 6 styles, and we just like can't keep up. We can't keep people excited about these same 6 cheeses that we're just always bringing to market. And so, you know, we decided to partner up and like start a CSA together and do more events together. And it's been great because now we have 12 cheeses that we offer together. And I think, you know, it's because of this like very collaborative nature between us. And I think especially among cheesemakers in our corner of the state that we're able to kind of actually, it's like 1 + 1 = 3 sort of a thing. Also, I think in one of my cheese making classes, I did accidentally say that I thought all cheesemakers should have to lactate at some point in their lives. So the cool thing about dairy is that it's super feminine and you're dealing with gestation and lactation. So voila, we're in the perfect world.
Any, you don't have to answer. I mean, I think that was all well said. I think there's definitely like, I don't know, an organizational and like starting the day with a plan is something that I've noticed too. Like at least the women I've worked with, even, you know, now I'm a manager, but the women who are working for me always kind of like, so what's the plan for the day? And that's like you know, it's a productive way to get through a day. So yeah, I would love to leave, you know, hopefully get some questions from our participants in the audience. So I don't know if Lindsay, if you want to, if you have some questions queued up, or if you want to lead that.
Yeah, the chat has been a little bit quiet. One thing that I think comes up a lot when we do programs and culinary programs at the Rushton Conservation Center next to the farm is, you know, this idea of, well, I need to buy organic produce. It just needs to have the organic stamp. And I think a couple of you maybe referenced that. But, you know, not every farm can afford the stamp, you know, like somebody alluded to. So if somebody wouldn't mind just tackling that briefly of, you know, is organic from Whole Foods isn't necessarily better than, you know, something not pesticide that's local. So if somebody could just expand on that a little bit, would be great.
Yeah, this is good. Oh, go on, Erica. Are you?
Well, as an organic grower, I just want to like say something that I think is important that everyone knows, that there's a lot of grant money for organic growers and to be certified. So it's not as cost prohibitive as I think most people assume that it is. And it's not any more work than the FSMA or a lot of the other things. And as far as I know, it's actually not much more expensive than certified natural grown. And I maintain the organic certification for the whole 150-acre farm. It's not that bad. I think that's a little bit of a misconception that I just wanted to like put in there a little bit, that it's not as much work and cost prohibitive as that it's sometimes made out to be. So
That's actually really good to hear, because I've been, up until this year, I've been certified naturally grown, which is following organic standards, but a different review process. So you're actually reviewed by peers and other farmers. And this year I was like, why do I pay this organization to say I do the right thing? I think a lot of it comes down to knowing your customers, your customers knowing you. So, you know, the organic certification is important for people who don't have time to get to know their farmers, where it's like, okay, you're following these standards. It's just kind of like covers it all. But I think the most important thing, you can be an organic farmer and be spraying an excess of organic chemicals and destroying biodiversity. So I think it's really knowing your farm and knowing what their values are and their principles. And it's hard to do that on a large scale, you know, like a farm produce that you'd buy at Whole Foods. You can't call up the farmer and be like, so what do you spray? So I think just that relationship is really important.
Thank you. Anybody from any of our guests here tonight? Chime in. Feel free to.
There's some questions in the chat I see too.
Oh, great. Go for it. For some reason, I'm not seeing it.
Oh. Grant opportunities for new small scale farmers. Anyone?
There's a PA in Pennsylvania, PA Grant Watch. that you can sign up for, and you can, it's as user friendly as a government database can be. But you can sort of go through and find things, and you can get alerts sent to your email if you have something in particular. If you're like, I want to do, cauliflower on 4 acres, you could put those buzzwords in. And PASA is actually a very good resource for that too. You could even send them an email, and someone will get back to you and tell you where to start. There are people that have like loads of information in their heads, but they don't know who wants it. So if you know what you're looking for and you reach out to a farming organization in your state, you can, it takes just a little legwork to find funds available, in my experience.
Thank you. And now I see the chat, so I'm back on it, everybody. Is from Joan, is farming a 7-day-a-week job?
Yes, 8.
Yeah, more, more than 7, like Emma said.
It's a lifestyle. It's not really a job.
You absolutely have to think about it that way. Otherwise you'll just make yourself miserable.
I would say as a farm manager or owner, like you can work on a farm and, clock in and clock out, and you'll probably think about it after work because it's fun. But I think as an owner, it like infiltrates all aspects of your life.
Right. From Danny, are there laws regarding farming that you were surprised to learn about while starting your farms?
That was my actual question for Nina. I not having done urban farming, I mean, what are the different constraints that happen within an urban setting that might not happen within a rural setting?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Oh wow, where to begin? Yeah, I mean, zoning is an issue everywhere, but it's definitely a big issue in an urban setting, and a lot of cities don't even have urban farming in their zoning code. We're lucky that Philadelphia does, but that's a pretty recent addition. You're really close to your neighbors, so it can be really important to just make friends with your neighbors. And if you're disrupting their lifestyle or something, it can be a real headache. In terms of other laws, it's really more about, I think, the community relations. That's what comes to mind for me, and the zoning. And then there's a lot of farms that are just kind of squatting on vacant lots, honestly. And so land tenure, just like it was mentioned earlier, and it's hard to have security of your land in the country. It's super true in the city as well. And it's just really, really painful because there are vacant areas. It's really possible to start up a small micro farm, but it can just really easily get taken away from you.
And just to follow up on that, that's my question, because I know Greensgrow, when Mary started up, when you start up in these lots, you don't know if they're Superfund sites, right? I mean, do you go through you got to go through some serious testing to really, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You have to take testing really seriously, and you have to pay extra for all the contaminants and the heavy metals and all that.
All right. And one here, this is a fun one. So does anybody have a favorite product that your firm produces, or an item that you produce, and your favorite way to prepare it? We always pick on kohlrabi. I do, at least at Rushton, but yeah, please.
I'll start with, I'm really obsessed and always have been with like hackeri turnips, or like small white salad turnips. They're so sweet and delicious, especially in the spring and fall. And I just like to grate it on a grater and put it on top of my salad.
I've gotten really into making butter. We've been pulling more heavy cream off of our milk to make a low-fat yogurt product. And if you haven't made butter and you're not buying it from Steph, which you should, but it's so good. It's so good.
I would say just like, I'm gonna be super boring and like a delicious, perfectly ripe heirloom tomato, and then you just slather it with mayonnaise. That's my favorite way of eating it.
Right. Anybody else have some favorites? Molly, what do you like?
Trying to think. This is this is like an embarrassing one, but we had beets at lunch today, and I haven't had a beet now for a little while, and now I'm like really excited to just load up on some beets again. And it's funny, we did like a little thing about testimonials from our women interns last year, and I was rereading what they wrote, and a couple of them all mentioned beets, and like harvesting them is so satisfying. So I think I would have right now, it changes a lot. But right now I'm about to go find me some big beets.
We have a good question that just came in from Gwen Nolan over at Mother Compost. Thanks for joining us tonight. She asks, what environmental issues most concern you in PA from a farming perspective? I'm a big one for our last question here tonight.
I mean, this isn't specific to PA, so maybe this is not the answer you're looking for, but probably what I think about a lot is just climate change. It's all encompassing and it kind of affects everything. But that's what really scares me.
Yeah, I would piggyback off that and say like the Pennsylvania microclimate, at least from veggie farmers I've talked to, is really dramatically shifting, and we're kind of becoming this like temperate rainforest climate where it'll dump 5 inches of rain in a week, and it's just, the season, there's just these extremes where it's like you get a really late frost and then you get a really early frost, and there's all these ups and downs that are making it really challenging to grow, and people are having to invest in greenhouses and high tunnels and different ways of combating it. So yeah, I would say just general climate change is terrifying.
That's good question, and definitely it all ties together for sure. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to echo what everybody's saying here. Thank you. This is so inspirational, and I could just imagine how many more conversations I want to keep having and visit all of you in your places of work and farms. I think there are CSA shares still available. We're going to send some information back, so check your emails. And I know you can visit Jessica's cows up at 7 Stars. If you guys are open for that, that's a pretty amazing trip to take to see their beautiful cows in action. And when the babies come, it's amazing as well. Malvern is right up the street from us in Willistown. So Erica, we'll see you at the farmer's market, and hopefully visit over to Weaver. So we'll have to get some field trips going, and look forward to hopefully seeing everybody in person next time. But this was a great way to get everybody together at the beginning of the season. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Lindsay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Molly.
Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
So many great thank yous. I think I just smiled for an hour listening to all of you. So
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I mean, that was all. I mean, it's just, I would love to meet you all in person. It was just really cool to hear from you. And I mean, I'm inspired by all of you. So thank you. That was great.
Likewise, yeah.
Ditto. Nice seeing you all. Have a good night, everyone.
all right. Thank you, everybody.
Great.
Great job with the questions, Molly.
Hopefully, it worked. It was good. I think it went well.
Going.
Yeah.
It was so great.
Yeah. Thank you.
That was excellent. I'm never gonna have to speak again at any function ever. No, it really was. It was
Just
solid.
at the Men in Farming
It was
Conference.
tight. You and Lindsay did a great job, and I thought it was really well done.
I think it was
And
great. It was a great crew. They were all awesome.
they all actually were really well spoken, which it was tight for a
Yeah.
farm thing. You know, I know a lot of farmers who tend to ramble and just talk too much. And that didn't, no, it just was really